everybody, welcome to the kitchen. Today we're going to make Scottish shortbread. So there is two ways of doing this. You could do this with soft butter or melted butter. And I'm going to try to do it both ways so you can see what the difference is. I like to experiment that way, and that way you know what the best results are from your recipe, what tastes the best, and what works properly. So first off, we need the paddle in the stand mixer. And this has worked very well, but the motor is beginning to go on it. If there's too much stuff in here, the motor doesn't work very well. So we were incredibly lucky, and Ms. Asterita approved purchasing not one, but we got two brand new Cuisinart stand mixers. So we are going to unveil this one and set it up and decommission our old one, so that way, starting with our new school year, our 21-22 school year in September, we will be all set and ready to go with brand new machines, and very exciting. So I'm going to move this over and unbox it. Here we go. Ta-da! Look at this beautiful new machine. All right, we've got our bowl. We have the motor. Here's the splash guard, our whisk attachment, the dough hook, and our paddle attachment. So this is very exciting. Just turned it on, it's working beautifully. And so we need 3/4 of a cup of unsalted butter. So I got it right here. And then we are gonna measure out 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, and then I want to weigh it on the scale. Okay, it's always good to have measurements by weight. 1/4 cup of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, so I've got our measuring spoons, our spatula, 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and 1/3 of a cup of cornstarch. So I'm going to start getting everything measured. Here we have our ingredients measured out, and I got a weight amount for all of them. And we're going to bake this in an 8x8 baking pan. So I'm going to have to get this, line it with parchment paper, and we are going to start making it. This should be soft. So see, I can squeeze it. It's been sitting out, so it's soft enough that we can make it. We're going to put it into our brand new stand mixer and then paddle it till it's light and fluffy. So our butter's in here, and this is so exciting. The very first time we are using this, there is a button at the back which you press down, and that releases it, so that way you can lock it in. When you hear the click, it's locked in. And on the side here, we have, it can go up to 12, so it, ooh, nice, look at the blue light too. All right, so paddling it on slow. I always prefer to do everything on a slow when we're making cookies. You don't want to over mix it. And the butter is nice and soft, so as soon as that's completely softened, I'm going to add in our powdered sugar and our granulated sugar. Okay, the great thing about this is that it stays up. So the previous one did not. You had to hold it. So now this will stay up, and I can free my hand to then pour in the ingredients. All right, so that is our granulated sugar, and here is our powdered sugar. All right, so again, you have to click it in. All right, it's locked in. I'm gonna turn on and let that mix in together. This is a very small batch, so you see a lot of the ingredients are stuck on the bottom. I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to use my spatula to scrape off the sides, so that way you can get the ingredients released, and that'll help it mix better. All right, so if you ever notice that while you're mixing something, the ingredients are stuck on the sides, use your spatula. See, now it's mixing in better. All right, so I'm going to mix that until it's light and fluffy. So while that's continuing to mix, I have over here our cornstarch, our flour, and our salt. And we just want to stir this together before we add it into the mixing bowl. And you can use a spoon, or I'll just use my finger to mix that in, make sure it's incorporated first. As soon as this looks light and fluffy, the butter and sugar is completely mixed, I'm gonna dump in the flour all at once. The flour mixture, and I'm putting all of it in. Okay, we press the button in the back, that comes down, and this is very slow, so I don't need to pulse it. This is a different machine. Normally I would, if we were using the KitchenAid stand mixer, I would tell everybody to pulse it in. But this is pretty slow. I'm going to turn it up to 2 now and let it mix in a bit more. I'm going to scrape down the sides to give it. So, this is such a small amount, it's not really mixing in at the bottom, so that's not necessarily the best thing. But I just use a spatula to help it. There we go, it's coming together now. Once you see it coming together though, you don't want to over mix it. So as soon as it comes completely together, we're going to stop. Alright, that looks good. We don't want to overdo it. We'll stop now. Alright, our dough is finished, and here is the baking pan, and I put parchment in here, and you see how it's overhanging, and I folded it? That'll give it enough strength so that when we're done, I can pick it up. I'll use the paper as handles to pick this up out of the baking pan. And so now I'm just going to get all of this in here, and then we're going to spread it out and make it flat. So we'll get it evenly distributed in the baking pan. This is my offset spatula, and so I just use this now to spread it, the dough, evenly. All right, so I've smoothed it off with our offset, and it's nice and flat. And now what we are going to use is a fork, and Scottish Shortbread usually has the traditional 3 or 4 holes in it. And so we want to make long rectangles, so we're going to cut that. So in between where we will cut it, I'm going to poke the dough with the fork to make that traditional style of cookie. Now, if you wanted, you could make a little more of elaborate design and maybe make triangles or any sort of design on it. There are also very fancy shortbread molds that you can cook it in that will give the cookie the sort of like the design of a flower or thistle. And I have a wooden one at home which has a thistle design. So you press the dough into the mold, and then you bake it in the oven in the mold, and when you unbake it, it has that beautiful design. This type of dough, because there's no egg in it, it doesn't spread much, and so that's why you can put it into a mold or press an image on it, and when it's baking, it should keep that image. And that way, shortbread can sometimes be very ornate and elaborate. But this hole poking is just what you do normally. All right, so now I'm gonna have to bake it till it's golden brown. All right, so I haven't made this in a long time. Anyhow, all the holes I made kind of filled in. So I wonder if am I supposed to make the holes afterwards? I can't remember. It's been such a long time. You know, I'm just gonna leave the holes out and let it cool a little bit, and then I'm gonna take this out and cut this on a cutting board.